Recording. Um, what's funny, I was looking, let's see, is this, am I, let me check my YouTube account for this class. Has 6 subscribers. Um, average view duration is 7 minutes for the hour-long class. Um, so uh, there's that. Many more people are watching my game streams than are watching the class. The class is easy to post. I don't mind posting it, and for the 2 people who are watching it, it's probably a lifeline. Um, so, but I have I have tomorrow at 3. I will be streaming the rest of Tacoma. I'll start where I left off on Sunday and go through to the end. Hopefully, it took me 4 hours the first time I played it. I have 4 hours played in the game. Haven't played it since then. I think I've used it for examples in class, so maybe a half hour more. So maybe 3.5 hours, and I played for 2.5 hours on Sunday, maybe less than, maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes, something like that. So I figured I was about halfway through. Um, and I should get to the end. I'm not sure if I'm halfway through because I was also doing a lot of weird uh, other things, um, like playing basketball and uh, punching the bags and doing all the gymnastics, the gym stuff to get achievements, because I figure why not get achievements while I'm here? I make my own fun. Okay, so tomorrow, 3 o'clock, the rest of Tacoma, and I will post that on YouTube. It takes a long time for whatever reason. However, OBS saves videos. Um, they take much longer to upload to YouTube than these Zoom things. So, like, this 1 hour thing takes, I don't know, 10-15 minutes to upload. But OBS, it's almost 1-to-1 in that, like, I started it on Sunday to upload 2 hours and a 2 hour, 8 minute video, and it took about 2 hours to upload. So, uh, and I have a pretty good upload speed. I think I have 25 up. I don't know. So there's that. So if you're waiting for me to upload videos on Wednesday to watch the whole thing, just be aware that it might be late on Wednesday that video gets up, because it just takes a long time. Okay. So next thing, boop. New Right Club is up. I am going to share that screen. Share. Okay, so here is Right Club number 2. I really enjoyed Right Club number 1. I know I said I would share some of the pictures. I had such time getting everything up that I needed to get up for today. I don't have pictures shared, but they're all graded. I really loved them. I think I said this already. I learned more about my class from those pictures this year than I usually do in any other year. So Alt H. Now I can see the thing. Okay. So this is the Canvas thing. You are supposed to create a title for a first-person shooter based on the works of Jane Austen. And my example here, and I take it because it's low-hanging fodder, Pride and Extreme Prejudice, The Call of Darcy, and who doesn't hear us? Right Club 2, Karen. She doesn't hear us. No, it's a joke. Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, so you're in 30 flights. Wait, who is that? Yay, 30 flights. There's Carrie. Yeah. Um, Yay. Welcome to 30 flights. Okay, so the example is and Extreme Prejudice. In fact, I have a different box art of this on my door in at WPI. That's why I use it. Um, so uh, in it's entirely open. If you don't know who Jane Austen is, Google Jane Austen, find out all about her. You can read all of her works by Thursday if you want. Up to you. She apparently is most famous amongst your generation for Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. But maybe the most recent um, Pride and Prejudice, there was an Emma just recently in the theaters. So play around, go find out about Jane Austen. That's collateral learning, right? It's not a class about Jane Austen, but why not get a little Jane Austen in there? You can submit up to 3 titles. You don't need to submit 3, but normally we do this in class, and it takes 15 minutes. I give you 15 minutes to come up with as many titles for Jane Austen first person shooters as you can. And then and my recommendation is sit down, just get a piece of paper and write down as many as you can. And when you're exhausted or can't think of any more, pick your best 3 and send those in. You don't need cool box art like this, but make me laugh, whatever. General tips: shorter is always better. I kind of think the Call of Darcy as a kind of bullet underneath, so to speak, a slug, I believe it's called, is a little overkill. I think Pride and Extreme Prejudice is long enough. And titles sell games. So that's what you're trying to do with your title. You're trying to evoke both Jane Austen and shooting, right? So you want. I've already taken the most famous Jane Austen title, Pride and Prejudice, but there are plenty of others. You don't need to take a title of one of her works. Yes, if it were a horror game, you could do Sixth Sense and Sensibility. Um, uh, so throw it out there, see what you can come up with. Don't overthink it. I would recommend doing it quickly. Again, if you're taking more than a half hour, then you're probably overthinking it. If any one of them is good, and by that I mean both, it's got first person shooter and Jane Austen in it, you get full credit. And again, don't sweat it. It's 2 points, right? So that's due April 2nd, which is Thursday at 5 p.m. Okay. And I'm looking for a doc or a PDF or a text file, just something I can read. It doesn't have to be fancy. Okay. Next, I want to. Here, we'll stop this. I want to talk about characters a little bit more. When we last talked, I was doing. Oh, I guess I got rid of it. Oh no, it's in Word. Um, I was doing the shortest play in the world, right? Now I've lost it. Screen share. Where is share screen? Give me Word. Where is Word? Here. This is the one I wrote for 4 p.m., which is a little different than the one I wrote for you guys. But it's similar, right? So again, we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the big end is here because B gives over that. But if we're looking at this, let's see, Alt H. Alt H pops up the chat, but it also does something in Word. So I can't see the chat. That bugs me. Okay, so what do we know about these characters? And I'm gonna let me stop the share. Where is there any way I can see chat? Chat. There it is. I found chat. Okay, what do we know about these characters? You can type away in chat. Who are they? What do we know anything? B has something A wants. A wants what B has. Okay. Anything else? Is there anything we can infer? B doesn't want to give it up. Okay. Right. But these are all, these are all what the characters want. B wants friendship. Yes. So there's a certain, actually, I think in this one, B wants love, right? B isn't satisfied with just friendship. B only says maybe for friendship, right? A is aggressive. Yep. Do these, if you were going to characterize, say I gave you this play and you're the director, who would you cast? Who would be A and who would be B? Anything? Any famous person? Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. Okay, I got that. I like that. Um, I don't know who Chris Pratt is. Chris Pratt? Danny DeVito and The Rock? Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt as both. Okay. Danny DeVito and Leonardo DiCaprio as A and B. That's an interesting choice. Leo as he is now, or Leo, young Leo? I don't know. Either. Um, Danny, everybody likes Danny DeVito for A, or at least people talking. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Yeah, I could see that. So it's interesting. You're all casting men. Why are you all casting men? A is Nick Cage. Danny DeVito and Jerry Seinfeld. This is Seinfeld. Okay. What if you were going to cast women? Why aren't you casting women? There's nothing that says it can't be two women. Sweats nervously. Gilda Radner. Eddie doesn't know actors or actresses or names. Okay. So what do the actors that you're all naming have in common? Kim Kardashian. I don't even know that she's an actress. They have memes. They're all white men. Yep. Uh, they play aggressive people. Is The Rock Hawaiian? Okay. Uh, they're aggressive. Um, they they're not exactly. Yeah, I thought he was a Pacific Islander, not he's Polynesian. I don't know. There was a whole extra on it and on Moana. Um, uh, oof. Okay. Yeah, I think he's Polynesian. Anyway, so these are simple characters, right? Really simple characters. Um, A just comes out and says what they want. Um, and B is willing uh, to fight. B is willing to um, bargain, to fight, or well, he gets the bar, or they get the bargain. Um, the violence, maybe the violence says men to you. Um, but the love doesn't really come across as women. Um, or men. I don't know. Mostly, it's interesting that that I'm not getting this. Um, no, there ain't nothing wrong with two dudes hugging it out. Um, just two bros hugging. Uh, yeah. You can't think of female actresses. They're direct, like on Sesame Street. Yes. So now we're getting to it. Um, don't they sound kind of like children? Very forward. I would argue that women tend to be more indirect. Yes. Uh, this saying exactly what you want is um, reserved for children and men, maybe, or man children. Same thing. Yeah. Um, they sound generally, and I've done this a number of times. I've written variations on this little scene hundreds of times at this point. Um, they're kids, because kids come out and say exactly what they want. Give me that, right? Please, right? That's the other thing. I think somebody said, uh, uh, at some point they should say please yesterday, right? Um, what's the magic word? Please. Okay. So yeah, okay, Olivia, you cast actors with character to make up for the lack of complexity in the story. It's really not much of a story at all. Um, but the simpler you make your tactics, the more childlike your characters. Um, so this is a little play, a little snippet of dialogue with really no character whatsoever. Um, the only character is um, what they want and what they're willing to get to do to get it, right? So one of the things, um, going back to Witness, uh, and going back to the idea that character is defined in realism, at least, um, by what characters say and what they do, right? So in this, they say things. They don't really. Well, they do one thing: they hug. right? Um, uh, but this is working from the outside in, right? I've given you what they say, and I don't know anything about these characters. I gave them A and B, right? I intentionally made the characters as minimal as possible. So one of the ways that we can help ourselves when we're writing a story or writing dialogue is to explicitly create characters, right? And say this character uh, believes these things, is afraid of these things, likes these things, um, and then we have an idea of them. We have a form of them in our minds when we put them in situations, and they do what they do based on what we've already created for that character. And in many cases, in both television and um, games, this is the start of what we call the Bible for that particular world. Um, it can be uh, a notebook full of character descriptions, full of settings, full of history, or it can be just um, a couple of pages. In many cases, for think about this, your well, so TV writing has changed over the years to these writer room things. But once upon a time, writers wrote for television series that they didn't particularly they didn't specifically work on. They wrote a script, they sent it in, it was accepted or not, right? And a lot of like Star Trek Next Generation people started with spec scripts for Star Trek Next Generation. Um, Nowadays, generally writers are hired, and there's a whole hierarchy in TV of you start as an assistant, um, and you become a junior writer, and then a senior writer, and then a showrunner. Um, but one of the things that the showrunners do, so that everybody's on the same page, so that they're writing for the same characters, is create the Bible of that world so that everybody can read it. So, one of the things you are going to do now, I'm going to stop that share and try a different one. Um, for Friday, new assignment. Um, ba, ba, ba. Do I have the character sheet up? No. Let me get that up. Open. There. So, so I have here. Now I've lost Zoom. This is why it takes longer to do class in Zoom. Okay, so chat. Let's get the chat back up. Okay, so this is a basic sheet to fill out to create the sketch of a character, right? So, what's the name of the character? What is the character in terms of not all characters are human? Um, in fact, I'm going to require you to make some non-human characters. What gender is the character? Feel free to play with that. How old is the character? Give me a physical description. Describe this character's personality using 3 adjectives, like I did yesterday for John Book: lawful, violent, and I forget the last one. I asked you guys for it. whatever it was, parental. Um, describe this character's person. So that is make a three-dimensional character. Where does the character live? Um, we never saw where John Book lives. We never saw his apartment. Um, in many ways, John Book lives on the streets of Philadelphia, right? That's that's where we get the impression that he spends most of his time. We only got a little glimpse of his police station, and that was mostly through the eyes of Samuel. But we never got to see like his apartment, and I can only imagine that John Book's apartment is Spartan. Basically, he sleeps there and he eats takeout there. That's my imagination of what John's apartment looks like. Describe that character's family. What or who does the character love most and why? Describe it. You think he has succulents? I don't know. A little herb garden. Um, what does the character fear most and why? What does the character want most in the world? And give a short biography. They were born in 1982. They grew up in the 90s. They wear flannel still to this day, right? Um, they went to community college, and graduated with a degree in welding, and now build big ships. I don't know. I'm making things up. So notice here, I've got I created this and I typed this. This is for two names, right? Because you're going to be working with a partner. So it's not enough to just make this character, right? And this is why I didn't release it until I get to talk about it here today. So what I want you to do is get together with your partner, and one of you just sit here and talk like I'm talking now, and the other have the sheet out, right? And um, I think it kind of works better if the person who is creating can't even see the sheet. But if you want to put the sheet up on Google Docs so that both of you can see it, fine. But I intentionally didn't put it there. I put it in a Word document so that one of you has it on the screen and the both of you can talk to each other, and it's just talking. So the person who is typing asks these questions. So what's the character's name? And the other person answers, right? Simple. Character's name is Bobicus, right? Bobicus is Greek. He comes from ancient Greece. What is the character? Character is a human being, right? Or no, the character is a bear, right? He's an ancient Greek bear. What gender is the character? The character is male, but feel free. In the past, we've had amoebas. So what gender is an amoeba? There is no gender to an amoeba. They're asexual. They reproduce through, I don't know, splitting. I'm no biologist. How old is the character? Whatever. Okay. And then what I want you to do is switch, right? So that the person who was just making stuff up out of their head now gets to do the same thing as the person who typed. They get to ask the questions, and the person who was typing now just gets to make stuff up, right? And I want you to do this 3 times each. So I am going to sharing, new share over here, share. So this is the assignment. It's in fact, I'm going to hit publish right now. There, it's now published. So you can download this exact Word document. It's the link right here. And this is the instructions for recorder, questioner, and creating things. What I want you to do is your first character, make that character an animal, right? Um, you can be a fox who can talk and shoot arrows like Robin Hood. Um, that's fine. Uh, in fact, Disney did that, where Robin Hood was a fox. Um, or you can say this animal is a hyper intelligent orangutan that has learned sign language, right? Um, and speaks through sign language, right? And make it hyper realistic and say, uh, and describe that animal as um, exactly what that orangutan went through. It can just be a normal rabbit, yes, as long as you can fill out um, the character sheet for a normal rabbit. No, furries don't count as rabbits or as animals. The furries are human beings, and you'll get your chance because uh, Disney's Robin Hood is a furry. I think Disney's Robin Hood is an anthropomorphized cartoon character fox. So, uh, uh, I think okay. Well, then I guess we have different definitions of furries. I understand furry to mean a human being who dresses up like an animal. Um, and that's I don't want you to create a human being who dresses up like an animal. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so then you're each going to make a character who is an animal. um oh geez, yeah, you can make an animal who dresses up like a human being, sure. um oh geez. um Okay, I don't need to know all this about furries. So now you're going to um, you're going to each make an animal, and then you're going to move on, and you're going to each make a thing. This can be an anthropomorphized thing, so you can have Charlie the clock, who hangs on the wall and watches everything and keeps time really well. Um, and talks to people or animals. Um, or you can have your supercomputer AI that uh, is is smarter than everybody and wants to experience love. I don't know. I'm making things up. So you can anthropomorphize a thing, or you can uh, stick to robots and um, actual existing things. Up to you. And then your third character must be a human. So you're going to do this uh, each once. One animal, one thing, one human. The thing can be plants, sure. Yes, the thing can be plants. Um, and no, you are going to submit all six of them as a group. Um, the one 3-person group is going to make 9 of them, and you're just going to do round robin, right? Um, so the one thing you should know at the end, you're going to have 6 characters or 9 characters for the 3-person thing. Um, you will have 2 animals, 2 things, 2 humans. And here's the other big thing: when making these characters, um, which is going to be, you're going to have them interacting in the same story. Okay. Um, mythological creatures count as animals? Mythological animals are fine. Um, let's stay out of fantasy characters. Let's just make human beings. Dwarves and elves and stuff are just mythologized human beings. Um, so let's not go straight to fantasy. In fact, um, you're going to be writing a story with animals and things as characters. Um, man, you guys are very active in the chat today, more so than usual, but I'm okay with that. Um, so, one year I had one person make a blue whale, and their partner made an amoeba because I forgot to tell them that these characters are going to be. Yes, you can just make your cat. I forgot to tell them that these are going to be in the same story. And then they're like, well, how does my blue whale talk to his amoeba? And I'm like, well, that's an interesting story, isn't it? Right. So they came through, but I warn you up front, they're all going to be in the same story together, all 6 characters. Um, so when making them, plan accordingly. Okay. Um, put all 6 characters in a single document and upload that document to Canvas. And this is kind of crucial. The point of the exercise is to write with your partner, is to talk your story, talk your characters. So if you just type up your characters and your partner just types up their characters, you done it wrong. You will create differently when you're talking with someone. It's just a fact. And hopefully you'll be a little bit freer with the ideas. You'll be a little bit more improvisational. You'll have more fun. No, ghosts don't count as human. Ghosts are things. Can't make God either. No, no. A werewolf. Whatever, man. I'm not gonna be a character Nazi, so to speak. Make 6 characters, right? Have some fun. Go for it. A room full of vampires is a thing. No. Vampires are mythological creatures. I don't know what draw fee means. Now you're just all being silly. Okay. So, oh man, I have so much more to talk about. Okay, so that's the assignment. This one is due Friday at 5 p.m. Okay. So just be aware of that. Thursday is Write Club. Friday is both the reading quiz and this. Okay, because over the weekend you're going to be writing the story that all these characters are going to be in. Okay. Moving on. Stop share. You notice I didn't stop for questions because the chat has gotten silly. That's okay. Oh, the cat is so cute. Okay. So, next thing. I want to ruin movies for you. So, let's go to the whiteboard. Basically all Hollywood movies follow what's called a 3-act structure. And not every single movie does this. But let's see. But many, 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 many do. And in fact, lots of studios, lots of spec reading agents won't even talk to people who don't who haven't written a script that is in 3-act structure, right? So let's talk about 3-act structure, and hopefully, well, I probably won't finish it in the 7 minutes I have left, but I'll get started on it and I'll continue on Thursday. If this is the beginning and this is the end, a 2-hour movie is 120 minutes. So it starts on page 1 and ends on page 120. That means it's about a minute. Let's see, can I change the font? A minute per page, right? No, I can't change the font. So, or maybe I can. What's going on? Why won't it? 1 minute per page. Okay, so the 1 minute per page rule comes from a time of typewriters. Typewriters use a different font. You'll notice here in 1 minute per page that the I takes up less room than the M, right? The M is a bigger letter. This is known as a variable width font, right? And those of you in graphic design, let's see, can I change the font is the problem here. I don't think I can. Nope. Text. Let's select. Nope. Nope, I can't. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Word because I know I can change the font in Word. Let's go over here. Okay, so this is that same variable with font. But if I change the font to Courier New, right? In fact, if I change it all to Courier New, you'll see that the M takes up exactly the same amount of space as the I. That's called a fixed width font. Old typewriters worked with a fixed width font. So we knew, in fact, that that the average amount of letters that you could fit on a page was quantifiable. But your basic screenplay formatting actually is different than this. This is kind of standard playwriting format. Not even, this is me just farting around. But if I could pull up a screenplay, but I won't. The screenplay format would go here. It would, for dialogue, would be inside on both sides, so it would be kind of indented a couple of times here and indented a couple of times over here, so that it would be a small column for dialogue and full page for setting descriptions. So Up here, for instance, let's decrease font. It would say int night. That stands for interior night. Um, the dimly lit living room of A is crowded with stuffed animals. Right? A brief description of where they are. Interior night is shorthand for there's only interior or exterior, and day or night. So the cinematographer setting up the shot could break up scenes, could make a shot list for how many interiors we need, how many exteriors we need, how many days, how many nights, right? So that's shorthand for that. But what this all boils down to is that with a fixed width font and with standard playwriting format, we could get, on average, 1 minute per page, right? So for a 2-hour movie, it would be 120 pages long, right? And we could divide it up. In fact, good. This is very Aristotelian. Is that over the years we saw the 3-act structure come in into Hollywood, and we knew that good 3 acts. The first act ended right around page 30, and the second act ended right around page 90, right? So your first act was 1/4 of your screenplay. Your second act was 1/2, and your third act is 1/4. Okay. Um, and a lot of times you see talk about a sagging second act, right? Or you have third act problems. That's another big note that screenwriters get. Second act sag means that you've got a bunch of stuff in here, but it feels like padding, right? It's not, there's not enough interesting things happening in the second act. You haven't thought through the journey that your character makes, the obstacles that they overcome to get to the third act. And third act problems are generally the third act has to be rewritten entirely because whatever the climax is isn't appropriate for what's come before, right? And what was I watching? I watched yesterday that movie where the guy uh, uh, gets hit by a truck at the same time that there's a worldwide blackout, and everybody forgets, everybody doesn't forget, but the Beatles just stop existing in time. Um, so and this guy, because he was hit by a truck, because magic, who knows, um, he's the only person in the world, as far as he knows, that remembers the Beatles, and he happens to be a struggling singer, so he starts singing Beatles songs, and everybody's like, oh my god, that's amazing. And he becomes an international star singing Beatles songs. And number one, that is a great high concept idea for a movie, right? Um, Everybody forgets famous rock band, new guy gets famous by impersonating them, right? Um, So the first act pretty much ends when he finds out that everyone has forgotten the Beatles and he's singing Beatles songs. And the second act is his rise to stardom, right? So the third act, well, how can it go? One way it could go is somehow the world is restored and everybody remembers the Beatles again. And he is outed as a fraud of some in some way. Another way it can go is that there are other people left in this new world who remember the Beatles. Oh, I'm over time. Okay. Well, yesterday, if you watch it, is a great example of third act problems because it pretty much has a terrible third act. It's a really good first act, really good second act, and they just don't know what to do with it. The whole thing explodes, and you're left with, well, that happened, I guess, right? So, okay. Tomorrow, I'm streaming Tacoma. Thursday, Right Club is due. Friday, the quiz is due. And yes, losing a good concept like that is sad. And the characters are due. Make your groups. I'm going to look over the groups tonight. And if people haven't made groups, I will put them in groups pretty much randomly. Okay? So make yourself into groups on Canvas and get started on the character thing, even if it's just to schedule a time when you can get together to do it. Okay? Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. See you on Thursday if I don't see you on Twitch tomorrow. Bye-bye.